Question, yeah, Rick Arndt.
Rick, I'm sorry.
Talking about the pressures, I've heard at several of these meetings the number between 800 and 1,400 pounds per square inch, which is pretty serious. Now, and I can give you an example. I happen to be watching a couple of TV shows. One of them the other day, this will cause a little chuckle. Apparently on the East Coast they have this pumpkin shooting contest. They call it pumpkin chunking. They use compressed air to fire pumpkins downrange, and they make teams, and they guys spend a lot of money on this stuff. But they talk about the pressure in the tanks, and it's only a 20-foot tank, maybe 4 feet in diameter, as opposed to 10 miles of pipeline. They can, with 200 pounds of air pressure, you can shoot a pumpkin about 10 inches in diameter, 3,700 feet.
With how much pressure?
200 pounds.
200 pounds.
Now, then at the end of the show, they were going to shoot up a trailer, a mobile home, and they took these 3 teams and they all lined up. And one guy said he was going to use 60 pounds of pressure. The trailer was 500 feet away, and they shot a pumpkin in one side and carried the kitchen range out the other side with a 10-pound pumpkin. So the pressures are extraordinary. Now, and you got to keep in mind that the valves on these things are 10 miles apart. We've heard that at the meeting. They hold about 1,200,000 gallons of stuff. And it will all come out before they can turn the valves on. In fact, at one of the seances that they held, we're talking about the procedure. Apparently they detect the leak in Tulsa, Oklahoma, unless somebody calls up that their house is just going to blow away. They will detect the leak in Tulsa, and then they will call one of their representatives here, which I imagine there's almost 2 of them, maybe, or 3. And they will go inspect to see what's going on before any valves are turned off. So the confidence factor is absolutely 0 on these guys doing anything right, you know. And to me, it's just amazing. But I was astounded by the 3,700 feet. I mean, that's a long way, folks.
All right, we have time for just about 1 or 2 more questions. Anybody else?
I wanted to ask, what is that place out there on Tatum Lane with the cyclone fence all around it? And I saw a Kinder Morgan truck there the other day, and I started to
Part of the
what are you
Tennessee
guys
guy.
doing? But I was, I didn't.
That's not a compressor station or anything. That's probably just a valve. I mean, there's probably 3 lines that come together.
They have the pumping station over in Taylor County, I understand.
There's one in Taylor County, and they've
But
got.
what is that thing? I mean, there's a big fence all around it, brand new fencing, by the way. I mean, they've done some extra.
Well, there's one in Calvary just like
things
it.
out there. I don't know, big pipes and stuff. Have you seen it?
Yeah, they've probably got a vent, and of course, natural gas. You can vent, and occasionally, I've been told that early in its development, when they were testing and stuff, that they would actually have a place where they could vent and burn off certain amounts of it, you know. And I know that in gas wells they do that too.
Right next door to that.
Yeah.
And across the street, I mean, you know.
That's about the right distance from Calvary to have about a valve or a turnoff about every 10 or 12 miles. You know, if you go across the country the way that pipeline does. There's one out there in the corner of 1157 and 208, about like what you're talking about out on Tatum Lane. So I'd say that's just a...
Well, what worries me more than anything is this, a leak. It wouldn't just affect, the property owners. It's going to affect everybody that drinks water, because everything will be contaminated. I mean, I did water watch for years. I mean, we don't have that much potable water now left in this whole world. And when I think of what fracking, it uses millions of gallons of water just to mix with all these chemicals, force the natural gas up. I mean, that's the process. Actually, if you want to know what actually should happen, in my opinion, all fracking should stop, period. We need to go back to the root of the real problem. that's what needs to be. Yeah, I mean, they could put all kinds of solar panels on people's roofs, like they've done in Germany. Now Germany's, what, 50% solar power now? I mean,
Is there currently a communication network for, is there a way to hit the media with information and press releases from this perspective, this group's perspective versus the highly paid publicist of the opposition?
Well, we have Central Kentucky Cable TV tonight, and this meeting will show for at least 12 times over the next several weeks, and then it will be on the New Pioneers website. We also have Brandon Mattingly from the Springfield Sun back here, and he's going to do this story not only for the Springfield paper, but for the Lebanon paper, and maybe we can get it down to Boyle and wherever else we want to get it to. And there, do you want to talk about the email list, Susan, and where we are with that?
The information sharing that Barbara mentioned earlier really has been an astounding experience with the Bluegrass Pipeline. And so there's an email listserv. And if you're interested in receiving, being part of that information sharing, can they talk to? Yeah. Jerry Hart just raised. Let Jerry know.
Jerry, can you give everybody your email address? Can you just tell people your email address so anybody who wants to can write it down right now and email you with their name?
Yes, it's Jerry, Jerry, at kftc.org. Again, Jerry at KFTC, that stands for Kentuckians for the Commonwealth.org. And just send me, say I'd like to be put on the pipeline email list. That'd be enough.
Great. Yeah, a lot can happen from email. Kathleen?
Barbara touched on this, but I would like to hear much more emphasis on the health impacts that we're exposed to. This toxic brew is harmful, to say the least. And I don't think anybody knows just exactly how harmful, because occasionally when these leaks occur, we find out that the materials have never been tested. We don't staff our offices, we can't sufficiently to test everything that we're exposed to. And I think what we run the risk of doing is setting back the health of our planet to such an extent that it simply will not be a habitat for healthy species of any kind, human and otherwise too. So I really do think that we need to investigate the health impacts to the extent that we can and broadcast them from the clouds. And I do think that health will get people's attention.
With the methane and butane and all that are carcinogens.
Well, of course.
They know all
course
that. I mean, so.
20% of the contents of the pipe is liquid that will sink into the ground and run all the way to Mammoth.
And it'll be there forever.
The rest goes up
It'll
in
be
the
there on
air and
judgment.
catches fire or just dissipates. That's the bottom line on that.
And the other thing we haven't even mentioned yet is the impact on climate of the use of fossil fuels and what's happening to the entire climate. We talk about, methane, well, we'll just blow off a little methane. Methane is anywhere from 20 to 60 times worse for climate change than carbon dioxide is. So a little bit of methane does a whole lot of damage. So as Susan said, our only choice is to move as quickly as we can away from fossil fuels altogether. Save some for our grandkids. They might need it for airplane fuel and a few other things that really do require fossil fuels. So let's not use it all up, which is what we're doing. But furthermore, let's use the available energy that's not going to kill us. The energy from the sun, water power, wind power, geothermal power, and now there's new techniques like algae and other ways of creating energy. So, you know, that's where our money needs to be going, is to those new infrastructures, not creating more of the infrastructures that are going to kill us.
Germany's doing it.
Germany's way ahead of us. China is ahead of us, believe it or not. Many countries are ahead of us. We like to think that we are the world superpower and everything we do is leading the world. Well, we're way behind on the energy thing.
I have one more quick question. What has been done, I'm asking Judge Executive here, has there any efforts been done amongst these counties to bring together the judge executives to do something? Are you all talking among yourselves?
I sent out an email and looked up all the 18 counties that were affected by the repurposing line and invited them to go to Locust Trace. I think there were just there weren't very many out of the 18 counties that went, but they all indicated that they'd received this Stantec consultant letter. They had kind of just, I don't know whether they ignored it or what. 2 or 3 of them got defeated. Of course, I might divulge this too in a month. I'm no longer be county judge. I did bring the new county judge with me. I don't want to throw him under the bus. He has been attending some meetings and trying to get abreast and stay on top of the conversation and what's going on, and I applaud him for his interest and his
Very grateful.
willingness to still work 2 jobs. He's still employed at a bank right now, but he's been taking some time and some liberties to come and get his feet underneath that, and that's a great thing. Our local community paper has been really, really good and objective in bringing out all the information that I think the Sisters of Loretta and the New Pioneers group and everybody that was really on the forefront of breaking open the Bluegrass Boardwalk, Bluegrass Pipeline issue, and really ultimately I think in getting it defeated, getting it stalled or wherever they are right now, putting them on the back burner for a while at least. It happened because of diligence and grassroots effort, and I think we all have to work together and pull this 18 counties and those judges, because they got these same letters about the possibility of roads being cut or crossed, and that's put a little more, if they're going to cut the roads, you get their judges' attention, because that's blacktop and that's damage to roads, and somebody's got to pay for that. So we all do need to be on guard.
Yes. Well, you've been a wonderful group tonight. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for coming. Special thanks to Susan and John as our panelists. Thanks to Central Kentucky TV and the Springfield Sun for being here to get the scoop. And we look forward to continuing the challenges, continuing the struggle. We have other things we would all rather be doing, to be honest, but this one needs to be done. Not so much for our own sake, but for the sake of the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren, and in my case, the great-nieces and great-nephews and their children to come after them. We owe it to the future to deal with this problem now. We cannot just let it slide. So thank you. Safe home. Rick?
Some folks that might be interested in the Stop the Bluegrass Pipeline website and No Bluegrass Pipeline. Full of stuff.
Yes, those are 2 good existing
places to go.
Pipelines that are continuing on with this.
The moving gas plan, you can probably pull that up on the computer so you can show how it works.